Welcome to the Matchfit Conditioning Podcast. Transforming over 100,000 footballers worldwide. Everything we do is aimed at enabling you to gain an edge completely by yourself without needing help from a training partner or teammate. Open yourself to doing things smarter and with more intention, focus and attention to detail than your teammates, opponents and even your coaches. Are you ready to get match fit?
If I was out for 6 weeks and couldn't train, how long would it take to get to the same level of fitness as I was pre-injury? This one's a little bit of how long is a piece of string. So it really does depend what your level of fitness was before, because the higher level of fitness that you have and you stop training, the longer it's probably going to take to get back to that really high elite level. Whereas if you don't have a very high level of fitness, it's probably quite easy to kind of get back to it. So it's likely to be very individualized based on your situation. And one thing you have to take into account is how long did it take to get you there in the first place. So if it took you 10 years to get to a point where you could train at a certain level, you're probably not going to jump back up there after dropping back to essentially zero, possibly. You're not just going to jump back up to there straight away. So that's something you have to take into account. When it comes to strength, depending on your strength level, it could take anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks to get back to that strength level. If you had a really high level of strength, and when I say high level of strength, we're saying if you could squat, say, double your body weight plus maybe 2.5 times your body weight, which would be pretty huge for a footballer. There wouldn't be many of them doing that. But if that was your strength level, then it could take you 3 months to 4 months to get back to that high level. One of the things you'd have to take into account is that not only is the exercise going to be kind of far away from what you've been doing in the last couple of weeks if you haven't been training at all, so you're not going to have good levels of strength, but everything is also going to feel very unnatural if you haven't been doing it. So that's another thing to take into account. But potentially up to 3 to 4 months if you've got a really high strength level, but anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks if your strength level was not ridiculously high. In terms of aerobic fitness, you can probably get back to your kind of pre-injury levels in, again, 6 to 8 weeks. Again, it also depends on how high your level of aerobic fitness was, but that's something that's going to be pretty easy to bring back up, but just may take up to 2 months depending on how high your level was. The biggest things to look at in terms of coming back from periods without training is the time you have for when you need to be ready. Not from when you want to be ready, but how much time do you need to be ready. So that means that you need to look at what your position is in terms of how unfit you are at this stage, when is a realistic time to come back that's been kind of given to you by your physiotherapist or someone who's advising you on this. And then you need to think, well, what I need to do is as much work as possible in that time to get to that stage, but that work needs to be done with a gradual increase. Our body doesn't like huge spikes in our training. So if you're eager to come back from your training from your injury, and you do a whole bunch of training straight away and it's 10 times the amount you were doing before, then you're probably going to get another injury quite quickly. So there's some pretty good research out there that shows that kind of a sweet spot for increasing our training is just by making sure that we don't do more than 1.3 times the work than we've been doing in previous weeks. So it's quite hard to quantify in terms of football, but just as an example, say if you were looking at a distance runner, you just wouldn't increase the distances more than 1.3 times per what they've been doing the last couple of weeks. So if they're running 100 meters in week 1, 2 and 3, and that's their whole session is running 100 meters and that's it, you're probably not going to kind of increase the loads more than 130 meters because it's going to put the athlete at a higher risk of injury. So if you've got an 8-week period between when you can train and the start of pre-season, is a really nice block for you to start training gradually and increase as you go. So what you don't want to do is give yourself an unrealistic goal and try and get back to full training within 1 week. So you're going to train every day, twice a day for a week, because you're just going to get re-injured, the same injury, or you're going to cause another injury. So pretty much a good kind of guideline is to try and gradually increase as slow as possible. The more time you have to get back from your injury and increase your physical qualities back to the same level or even exceed the level they were at, the better. So slow gradual increases is the key, especially if you haven't been able to do any training. Now, one thing that I always talk about is kind of off-feet training or training that you can do whilst you're injured. So one of the keys to quick return to play, or kind of appropriate return to play, and how we can speed that process up a little bit, is by trying to maintain fitness the best you can whilst you can't train. So you need to find any workarounds that you can, speak to your physiotherapist, speak to your strength and conditioning coach, have a look on our website for some articles of things you can do whilst you have certain injuries. Do as much as you can that won't affect the injury, and that's going to help you come back quicker.
Thanks for tuning into the Matchfit Conditioning Podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with one of your teammates. To learn more about the Matchfit method and to start your training with us, visit www.matchfitconditioning.com. We'll show you how to gain an edge on the pitch at an elite level by transforming your fitness level, nutrition, and mindset.